from madness abroad to, well, some would argue madness. So you've got a story from the BBC about food prices and Brexit. I'm going to hang on to that because I know how pro-Brexit you were, Yasmin.
Oh, yes, of course. I mean, what we said. But anyway, the story is that the government this time has revealed how much companies will have to pay to import foods from the EU due to Brexit. And the reason they're giving is Brexit. Fish, salami, sausage, cheese, and so on. Right. Will be subject to fees of up to £145 from the 30th this month.
Just to be clear, because I was a bit sort of confused about this, and I was asking, so does that mean when you order your cheese or salami from the European Union, you could pay £10? I don't know how much a salami costs in front, despite being nowadays middle class. Sorry, Mum. Also, salamis aren't kosher. But you could pay an extra £145 on top of the €20.
Well, it'll be passed on to the customer.
OK, of course.
But for the reasons, I'm sorry, I do not understand the language that the government is using. It doesn't even feel like English to me, because they said the fees would pay for, in quotes, world-class border facilities. Now, you might be cleverer than I am. I don't understand that. There are borders, and there are border charges between most nations, and sometimes not.
Well, this is the idea
of world class.
Well, I want to know. I mean, when fees come into government, the idea that they're ring-fenced in order to go for a specific purpose, other than the licence fee, I can't think of a single charge, or very few, where that happens. It generally goes into the general pot and gets spent on a variety of things that you may not like. In most cases, you might not. What do you think about this? You were rather pro-Brexit, as I understand it, to say the least.
The idea of Brexit, to me, was always a winner. The way it's been handled since Brexit got voted in, since the British people applied it, right, has been a disaster. And this is just another example of it. Yasmin just highlighted some gobbledygook from the government. What about this one? Our sector typically has multiple commodity lines per consignment, meaning in reality, businesses in our sector will be paying. It's all complete gobbledygook. And do you know why? Because Brexit has never been properly carried out in this country. Down in, I think it's Brixham in Devon, they've got world-class fishing returns from the seas that we can now go out and fish. And yet, do you know, the red tape to process that fish and export it is probably worse now than it was when we were in the European Union.
So that's a very interesting reason why, especially down in Cornwall, they voted for Brexit. You'll know the European Court of Justice, big case, Factor Table, the name of it, restricted the number of fish they could take out of the sea. You get people who are not necessarily in any way particularly anti-European. What they wanted to is to keep their fishing villages alive, and it's been a disaster, is what they're saying.
There's so much buyer's remorse now about all of this. But what I think, this is a really revealing story which is covered up by this language we can't understand.
Do you think that's what they do, like lawyers? You put it all in the terms and conditions and then hope people don't understand
this.
I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to hide the fact that we're now paying Europe fees to trade with them. We wanted free trade with Europe, and the relationship's broken down with Europe, and now really it's just another trading tax.
Well, just to be clear what it affects, it affects small imports and products such as fish, salami, sausage, cheese and yoghurt. Amongst other things. Now, a number of organisations have made comments. You can see the Horticultural Trades Association. That's flowers you want to buy for your mum, or your ordinary people. Have them in their house. They said the policy felt like it was constructed on the back of an envelope at best and would undoubtedly increase costs, potentially reduce consumer choice and increase the likelihood of empty shelves.
I wish we could get Liz Truss to do her thing again. Do you remember? We import cheese from Europe. Disgraceful.
I don't know why we import any of those things. We do them all well in this country. Sausages are best here, cheese is here, yoghurt is good here. I don't understand it. In my part of the world, there's this fantastic huge lorry that comes from Holland, drives around with millions of flowers in it, And you talk to the guy, because he arrives at the shops and all that, and it's just got more difficult to
But
trade.
isn't that one of the arguments? I mean, the counterpoint is if you add these fees, which are effectively trade tariffs, let's say.
Exactly.
I mean, they're going to cap the amount on a great big consignment, but if you want to buy an individual, bit of Gouda, it might cost you £3 plus £145 for the tax.
Yeah.
But that might encourage local production. It might...
I hope it would, yes.
Produce a higher level of supply and manufacturing,
but that's
which, as
not
you say,
what they're
has disappeared.
saying. That's not what the thinking seems to be. They're trying to make us feel as if this is really not that big a deal.
Right.
Business as usual.
Now, you called it government gobbledygook, but the government has... responded to that. The government said that fees would pay for world-class border facilities.
That's what I meant.
You did, yep. And essential biosecurity checks that will protect against disease outbreaks. I thought that was, frankly, part of international law in any event. It also said the flat rate charge was at the bottom end of the range, and we consulted with industry on this. And the cap has been set to help smaller businesses.